What is going on, people? Faze, the most influential team in sniping in my opinion, bar WaRTeK. This is down to how innovative and consistent they were for a period of time. Not only did they change the way people played, but sniping content in general. To have such an influence and shift your focus, what does that do? The timeline for the current state of sniping matches up with Faze's disassociation from it as a brand. Did Faze ruin sniping? The Faze channel started back in May 2010 and it was strictly a trickshotting team on Modern Warfare 2. I remember the disruption this caused at the time. There was a sense of excitement and chaos. It was kind of exciting for you if you were open to it. You know, no one had ever seen anything like it at the time.
I am literally in the air right now, wrapping up a store. This first class, I am so new at this. Used to ride a metro, let us hit this retro. Like the infrareds on my feet, baby, let's go. Send out what they know me by, not what they call me. Gotta catch a flight, but the fans wanna storm me. Life of a dawn, change just glowing. Always in the lab with the fresh kicks on. I'm at the MGM, rocking MCM.
The trick shotting, I mean, I wouldn't even say it was trick shotting before them. You know, it was kind of just 360s and no scopes, but you know, trick shotting in, you know, the way they made it completely different. And you know, if you were open to it, it was exciting. If you wanted to join a team like that, or you know, you wanted to expand and do those kind of things, it was exciting to you. But then there was the chaotic side of people who just didn't like it at all and like weren't with it. You know, you kind of have, I don't want to see old heads, because you know, everyone was young at that time. There wasn't really, the scene wasn't old per se, but you know, you've got people in the mentality of, I want it this way and only this way. And I get both sides. Me personally at the time, I wasn't really that bothered. Like, I didn't really care too much, but I do get both sides. I get the excitement and that it's new, because at the moment, you know, in the scene there isn't really that much diversity. It's kind of the same old. So it was refreshing to see. But I get the other side, where if you'd have been in a search and destroy lobby, you know, on Terminal for example, you might be one of the last players alive and you're getting hit with stun grenades to death and people just trying trick shots on you. And you know, I get how annoying that could be. You know, there's people at the time that felt that had ruined sniping, you know, because of all, especially if you were a search and destroy player and you went into that and that was all you'd seen. But you know, you'd either loved it or you hated it. But if you didn't like it, as the minority, it didn't matter, because it was in.
You know, okay, the Faze clan, that's great. They're doing their own thing. They made something new. Who the fuck cares? Not I.
It was representative of something completely different, and it was in its own lane. Faze saw that people liked the content and decided to recruit more members, and then you get ILLCAMS, which, you know, is a series of its own. Like, there's so many videos, and the volume of videos they were putting out and the amount of members they were starting to recruit to keep up with this was just insane. Like, it changed other teams' approaches. You know, they were putting out, you know, montages and commentaries. Teams were doing that at a consistent pace, but it was nothing like this. Like, this was, you know, to have that many members, and at the time, you know, all school kids, basically, you had nothing but free time to drop these videos, so they were in a space of their own and they just caused a lot of noise. You started to see the effect in other teams. You know, I'd say, you know, the one that comes to my head first is DAF, starting to recruit loads of members in to maybe not compete in that lane, but in terms of volume and quality, to start to compete there. There were other small trick shotting teams that popped up at the time, but none were on the same level, and none, I believe, are still around. Now, to say they started on Modern Warfare 2, they did slowly start to expand out of Modern Warfare 2 in 2011 when Modern Warfare 3 dropped. And with the expansion also came more expansion in terms of vlogs, and we started to see more personality from the Faze players. You could see the change in priorities starting to happen within Faze. Slowly their vlog content was going into their videos, but over a long period of time it took over and was a preference of theirs. And the community again was copying Faze. Faze seemed to be the ones that were the trendsetters at this moment in time. You know, people were copying them, drip feeding more vlog type content into their videos. And you know, from Faze's part, this started when Banks and Temper moved in together, and it became what we now know as the Faze House, with more members moving in and them taking advantage of that with the content they were putting out. The shift in focus wasn't only sniping related, but also esports. Faze went into esports and have been extremely successful in it. You could say all their sniping focus had been put there, but it wasn't only just Call of Duty. They were acquiring loads of different teams from different games and finding loads of success there. With the amount of money they were making in these prize pools and the success they were seeing, it's understandable why they would sit back and kind of take a back seat.
But they'll get cleared out, but look at the mini-map phase are in! It's the guts, it's the glory, it's the championship for FaZe!
Now, where did this leave the sniping fans? Well, it's really simple. Either you stayed or you left. You would have had to make the realization that things had changed, and it became whether or not you were a FaZe fan and not just a fan of their sniping, because you would have had to continue with their journey, you know, following their personalities and things like that. For me, I wasn't really too bothered. I followed FaZe loosely. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't really like a die-hard fan or one of those people, but I do follow them now in the CDL. You know, I really enjoy the Call of Duty League and the success they have in there. I can understand though if you were a serious fan of FaZe and, you know, you followed them throughout their journey, because, you know, at their peak they were uploading at a crazy rate. So you would have gone through all of that and then just to have them leave really and go to other stuff. You know, one day you're watching them doing a lot of trick shotting videos and a lot of montages, and then, you know, they're uploading with man in their bed wrestling each other. So, you know, so I do understand the frustration there, but a few players were still sniping, and this is where I think the second wave of influence that FaZe had on sniping came about. Now, it's with the change of the sniping format, the commentaries, you know. In came COD comms, influenced by FaZe Jev. You know, traditionally before that, I'd say pre-2014, if you uploaded a gameplay, you pretty much uploaded the entire match from start to finish. If it wasn't completely from start to finish, you know, you might cut out, you know, a few slow bits, but it was essentially one map, one gameplay from start to finish to show your skill level really, and just to show how you played, how you moved around the map. Now, COD comms meant, you know, they meant two things for me. It meant you could upload more because you didn't have to be as perfect, right? You could just chop and just cut and put stuff wherever you wanted, and to make a gameplay that way. You could upload more at a more efficient rate, you know. Maybe you didn't have to live com over the games exactly, you know. When you were in the game, you could just tell stories and chop up a loads of clips and do it that way. Or it meant if you were shit, you could still upload. And that's, you know, that's just a fact. And you can see the influence it had now. You can see it's still going. And what did that do? That pushed loads of snipers to start uploading. Like, people who weren't necessarily that good could just upload, you know, their best bits, right? Which, you know, not necessarily amazing clips or like amazing gameplay, but because of the way the style has changed now, people could start doing that. For me personally, I don't mind it. You know, it's like a easier way to put things together. But me, who is a good sniper and who wants to be a better sniper, I still, you know, I still like the traditional gameplay wherever you can find it. But the fact of the matter is that the influence they had, the way they shift the community, the majority, if not almost everybody, is doing it that way, and it's kind of a trend you just need to ride. So, you know, if you were still uploading in the traditional sense, not necessarily to a high level or being creative with it, you were kind of not competing with the style that is now relevant. And then you had someone like Spratt, who was still uploading sniping content and still is to this day. He was given the content leader role to lead the pack where sniping content was concerned. They wanted to clear the roster, get rid of lazy members, motivate the team and push. And, you know, during this role, in his own words, for the first 6 months, it went really great. And then after that, it just went back as it was. It just took a nosedive. You know, you can't force people to do something. You know, you can't motivate them if they don't want to do it. You know, it just didn't work out, and there's only so much he could do. So after 6 years, he ended up leaving FaZe, and a few other members ended up leaving as well. And I can imagine how hard that must have been for them to do. Now, I can understand the blame they get for the sniping scene, and that lies within their influence. You know, they've influenced a lot of people, and, you know, a lot of kids are easily influenced, and that's all the scene was, you know, when it first came around. Now, the search and destroy trick shot in lobbies, that I get, that I can 100% get, that would piss you off, because, you know, during that period, if you happen to run into one of those lobbies, it was just annoying. You know, the game didn't play the way you wanted it to. People were just going for clips, throwing stuns, flashes, you know, not taking things too seriously. Or you jump in a lobby and people were setting clips up, like it was that serious. People were setting clips up to get stuff to upload. With something like that, yeah, it's an absolute piss take. Like, it's so annoying, and that is on their influence. Like, I'm not going to say it's not. But, you know, to answer the question directly, did they ruin sniping? No. they didn't ruin sniping. People change and evolve, and if it wasn't then they were going to stop playing it, they would have stopped playing it eventually. You can't put it on them. It's up to everyone to be creative and think on their own, and it's for people to be decisive and to stand out, not to just copy. And yeah, like I said, they've been massively influential, but to say they ruined it, no. That's on your mindset. They changed sniping and sniping content. I'm not disputing that, but in my opinion, they pushed it. They've not ruined it. It's up to how you feel, how you play, who you play with. For me, I still love COD and sniping on COD, and I've been doing this since COD 4. Otherwise, you know, I wouldn't even bother like uploading and doing things like this and still playing the game and recording my gameplay. It's because I still enjoy these things, and to say they ruined it, it doesn't make any sense. They shifted how it works and the style of content and how it's put together, and you know, the kind of people that came up on the scene when they arrived and were doing what they were doing, because it was very different and it was a change. But I have to disagree in saying that they ruined it. For me, no. But given all the points I've given, do you disagree? Do you think they've changed sniping for better or for worse? In a bit.